I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
This is Snowman in the Morning, and it begins now.
Circus, Afro circus, Afro circus, Afro polka dot, Afro.
Next!
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Did you not get the memo?
Nothing for you.
Now, where have I heard that line before?
What is up? This is the Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Hope y'all had a great Memorial Day. And it's time to get back at it on this Tuesday. I'll have a brief wrap-up of the Stanley Cup Final, Game 1, in a little bit. But I want to go off the board today. I'll be welcoming Charles Faulkner to talk about the welfare mind state of urban communities. So we're going to go a little off the sports board today. But another subject that I'm going to hit with Sir Charles is the emasculation, effeminization, and the elimination of the male from society. And people don't want to talk about it in full, but there's a few popular YouTubers that do. A few of which that I love, absolutely love to watch and listen to. So I decided I'm going to go there. And most of this, or I should say a part of this, is from personal experience. So if I start cussing at a high rate of speed, forgive me in advance. And I will say this episode will contain a few of those cuss words. Here we go. 2 years ago on the show, I asked a young lady to marry me. She said yes. I'm glad I didn't marry her, and I have a myriad of reasons. I got verbally, emotionally, and physically abused in that relationship. There were so many people, male and female alike, telling me, dude, you need to get the hell away from her because she's pulling you out of where you are. Didn't understand what that meant until I started seeing myself become somebody I wasn't, and I absolutely hated it. I didn't know how much I had retreated until that relationship was finally over in February of 2016. Actually, it was over before that, but it really didn't come to a head until September of that year. And forgive my next sentence. When on a couple of occasions, the bitch was following me from church, trying to find out where I was living. I was living in LaPorte at the time, and so was she, LaPorte, Indiana. She was trying to find my new place. Thank God she didn't. And I was called all kinds of names. I was told I was worth nothing. I wasn't going to be anything. But you know what really pissed me off? When she kept saying that I haven't done anything for my own company. I went the hell off when she said that to me. Now, men go through this. Well, more women go through this, what I'm about to tell you, than men do. But, you know what this woman did to me? She took my now ex-best friend and started a relationship with him while she was trying to still be with me. She gave me a call. She said, come see me. I did. I thought everything would be on the mend. When I get a call an hour later saying, I want our relationship to be business only. And then the bastard called me on a three-way and confirmed that they were seeing each other. And people wonder why I went through an abysmal period of time, about 18 months worth. That's part of the reason. The young lady I dated beyond that was a rebound, and I messed that up. But at the same time, what these two ladies have in common, I got tired of them insulting me. I got tired of them making fun of me. I got tired of them telling me what I should do with my life. And every time I barked back at them, they barked even louder. The young lady I dated in 2015, like I said, there were so many times she would tell me, and sometimes to my face, how inept I was in terms of not just running a business, but being a man. And I told her so many times, there's going to be a point where I'm going to get tired of you making me feel as inept as you do. Oh, please, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you, which would be her response. Well, one day I just got tired. And while she was on her high horse of putting me out of her apartment, which I doubt she has now because she's so illogical when it comes to money and when it comes to being around people, it's not even funny. I drove to Chicago when she did that. Had a game to do. Knocked him out. Then I went to church and talked to a couple of friends. And they posed a very important question. And this question is true in society today. Everything is available for a woman most of the time when she gets abused in a relationship. Why aren't the same sources available for a man most of the time when he gets abused? I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Because the men are not supposed to be abused in a relationship. The men are not supposed to be hit. They're not supposed to be verbally insulted, assaulted. They're not supposed to be emotionally insulted and assaulted. But that's all bullshit because it happens. I've been there. I know some men that have been there. So you can't tell me you can't make the same sources available to men that you make to women. I ain't buying it. Well, I did wind up getting an apartment. December 2015, everything was rolling good. And then, unfortunately, my company went through a very dry time, as did I. Lost my car, sources dried up, and I couldn't keep the place. Which led me to go south and go through another abysmal experience, which has led me to come back to where I am now, which is the Chicagoland area, and I thank the Lord that I am back. But I'll repeat a question I said a couple of moments ago. This is the Tuesday morning edition of Snowman in the Morning. We're presented by Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough. The question goes like this. Why is it that most sources are available when women are abused in a relationship, but it's not available for men when they get abused? I know some men that have had the hell beat out of them, physically, emotionally, and a lot of times verbally. It's what my friend Gina said best. It's gender conditioning. Men are supposed to be one way, women are supposed to be another. For the most part, women are taught that, you're the emotional beings. Okay, so why the hell can't men be emotional? You're not a man. You're not supposed to cry. That's bullshit. That's some grade A homogenized Holstein bullshit. My dad for a while told me the same thing. You're not supposed to cry. You're a man. You're not supposed to cry. And yet every time I cried, he was the first man there. He figured it out. There are men that are trying to figure it out, but are being met by resistance every chance they get when they do figure it out. It's bullshit. The way society is right now, the scales have been tipped toward the women. And I mean this in a general standpoint. Charles Faulkner is coming on the other side of the break to discuss this even further, especially when it comes to the urban communities, when it comes to the black community as well. But if you believe that as a man, you're not supposed to be emotional. You're just supposed to hold everything back. You know why there's a lot of violence with men? It goes like this, and this is a theory. This is not a fact. This is a theory. Men are conditioned and taught for so long to hold what they feel inside of them and not let it out, and it builds, and it builds some more until finally an explosion happens. And when that explosion happens, everybody points at him and they point to the authorities involved and they go, see, he's unstable. Lock him up. And what do you think happens? They lock him up and they don't even listen to his story. I've been there. It's not fair that they don't listen to a man's story as much as they listen to a woman's story when she explodes. And I'm not bashing anything. I'm not bashing women at all. Y'all have to understand, I am posing a question that should have been posed in the male society a long time ago. No matter what race, color, or creed, men get emotional and they get beat up too. So where are the sources for them when they go through it? They're left hanging out, for the most part, they're left hanging out to dry. Once again, I've been there. They're left hanging out to dry and it ain't fair. I got a lot more on this subject coming up. Charles Faulkner will join me after the break. And men, you need to listen to this discussion. You absolutely need to listen to this discussion, because there are going to be so many more times where I invite not only Charles Faulkner, but also two very good friends of mine, Matt Granahan and also Brandon Palmer, onto the show to discuss these very same issues. Because it's about time men's rights are put on the table and not under it. Period. The discussion with Charles Faulkner introduced.
Who do I perform for? I perform for all the awesome composers whose music deserves to be heard.
I perform for all the stagehands who make sure I never miss a cue.
I perform for our high school choir director who taught me to breathe from the diaphragm and sing from the heart.
Speech, debate, theater, music. The performing arts teach valuable life lessons that typically aren't taught in the classroom. They help high school students learn leadership skills that prepare them to enjoy more satisfying, productive lives.
I perform for Mrs. Evans, my high school debate coach, who has helped me become more confident than I ever dreamed possible.
This message presented by the Illinois High School Association and the high school in your community.
Hey, I've got a question for you. Who will you perform for?
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
It's bacon!
Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Usually talk sports here. We're presented by Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough. I decided to go off the board this morning. Now, y'all heard me expose a little bit of an issue that's going on in society. The men are not standing up for themselves, and there are many, many reasons behind that. I told my story earlier today about how I was verbally, emotionally, and physically abused in a relationship I had 2 years ago. You know why men don't stand up for themselves? Because when they make a confession like that into the public, hardly anyone believes them. We're going to talk about a few more things that affect men in society. On the line with me right now is a gentleman I had the pleasure of hosting a show with, along with my buddy Matt Granahan, when we did a 3-hour man chat session on the King's Court. I'll replay that later in the week. Charles Faulkner joins me on the Cleaver Supplements hotline. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, enjoying this Memorial Day. Shout out to all my fellow veterans out there, past and present.
Same here, man. All right, let's get down to it. We talked about this before, and it needs to continue to be talked about. There is no kind of major help for men, doesn't matter what color, race, or creed, when they go through a situation that a woman goes through. And I'll start with this. What happens to a man when he gets abused in a relationship? He tries to tell his story, and no one bothers to believe him.
You got to look at it from a standpoint that I was just talking to my best friend, Sean Glisty, about how equality does not make everything equal. It never has and it never will. For example, I'm not a sexist individual, but think about it. If we didn't have in the military or many police departments or paramilitary organizations like such, their jobs, what men do, a lot of women would not be in that profession. Not being sexist, not saying women don't belong in the military or the police departments around the country. I'm just saying, if you had to compete on the same level, would you be there? Two.
Yeah, you got that right.
Two. Let's look how the world views men on a fundamental scale. If a woman says she can't take care of her child, she will get housing, benefits, food stamps, sometimes even education, sometimes educational benefit.
In a heartbeat.
How many women get that? How many? And let's look at the flip side. If a man says he can't pay child support, what happens to him?
He goes to jail.
Exactly. So it's something that I talked to you on, not only in person, but also on Facebook Messenger, about the welfare mind state. You might have heard many other views on YouTube, such as Sitm, The Angry Man, The Shaky Jack, others talk about it. I see it firsthand at my living, the welfare mind state. And I'm pretty sure all of our Caucasian, Asian, and other brothers from another mother sees this, but you don't see it more rampantly than the black community.
Man, that's the truth.
Why? Let's go back in history when it comes to feminism. The reason why a lot of women won't get married is because you bought the bullshit of what feminism is.
Man. Preach.
I can't get a man, I need a man, but guess what? When you have all this education, and let's talk about it, a lot of black women, I'm not knocking you sisters out there getting your bachelor's, PhDs, right. But think about it. A lot of you get your degree, and they're not in STEM. They're usually communication, social work. I'm not going to shit on nursing because that's a tough job and it's very technical.
Yeah, it is.
But a lot of it is in those fields. So with the exception of nursing, because we'll always need nurses, your social work, think about it. A friend of mine, she was even saying, he said, think about it. You need a master's degree to make even half decent money in social work. Same thing for communication.
Mm-hmm.
And let's even go in depth into the government working, the people who work in the government. if you didn't have a government job with a communications degree, how are you going to be competitive in the work world?
Yeah. This mind state, not a mindset, but this mind state, hit me in the face after my nephew was born in 1998. Now, were there some extenuating circumstances? Certainly. His biological father wanted to be in his life, but didn't, and in some cases couldn't. But at the same time, it gets thrown in his face it got thrown in his face all the time, and it got him so stressed out, and I'm using that term very, very lightly, to the point where he actually walked away. And I think of it this way: he was forced to walk away, because when he tried to be in my nephew's life, he was met with resistance, and tons of it.
Of course. Think about it. How many times I go to a call, a woman wants a guy, I want him out of my house, he's not on the lease. But how long has he been living there? Because you want things your way. And I'm not saying that's all women, but we know not all women are in welfare mind state.
Exactly.
The problem is too many women in the welfare mind state. And look at child support. If child support was ever about the caretake of the child, if you need to take money from me, then that means you cannot take care of this child, correct?
Correctamundo.
So why not give the child to the person who's most likely to take care of the child?
And most capable of taking care of the child.
Exactly. So when you look at this with your mind's eye, or the pineal gland, I guess your third eye, as we said in Sitm, you open up logic, as Lionel said in the Thundercat, might be on sight. You can foresee the stupidity and the destruction in that welfare mind state.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, because of the 60s and the 70s, which you had feminism and many other things,
gone
because
wild.
Remember, the civil rights movement worked. Think about it. You have, upon civil rights, what happened? You had women could work.
Yep.
You had, they had to compete. Remember, when black men and black women were together, remember, at 85%, black men and black women were married at adult age.
Yep.
More than whites, more than Hispanics, more than Asians. So, and this is coming from 1890 to 1970.
Yep.
Almost a century. So what happened? You had the 60s and 70s with feminism. Then you had crack in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget, let's have a historical moment, that the war on drugs started with Richard Nixon.
Bullseye.
But it was galvanized by Ronald Reagan.
In 1986.
Exactly. So what happened was a lot of fathers, because in the 80s, that's when the United States was moving out the industrial age, where you could be a high school dropout and still make damn good money working at a steel mill.
Yep.
Working at a factory. Working at, a carpentry place. Working somewhere, you can make damn good money, buy a house, buy a car, and you only had an 8th grade education.
And if you were living, like in Chicago, where I'm from, or within those surrounding areas, like, Gary, Indiana, another place I'm familiar with, you hook up with a job in the steel mill at that time, you were set, man. You put in your 40, you pay your bills, you can get a house, get settled, take care of your family. When that age started to, and it didn't die down slowly, I mean, it just went flat.
Now, I remember when I was a kid, we had something called Inner Harbor Ford, where you had a lot of cars shipped in, sold, a little bit of, they had repairs, gone. And to think about it, my grandfather had an 8th grade education, became a mechanic, a trade mechanic by trade.
Mm-hmm.
and took care of 4 kids and a wife before they got divorced.
Yep.
And still put in 30 years before retiring. So, what changed? Let's go back into the 90s. The 90s were interesting too, because look what also happened in urban communities. Trades were being taken out of the high schools.
Yes.
So there was no more of benefiting the black man, or if you were in the white man or Asian man living in the urban communities, there was no more benefiting you.
No more benefiting of the man, period. And the
Exactly.
late 80s, you know, coming from a public high school myself in Chicago, I saw that being started in the late 80s. I'm talking 88, 89, and parts of 90 when I graduated. And all through the 90s, like you said, Charles, the trades were being taken out of the high schools, which basically left the young men to fend for themselves, and everything was being stacked against them as time went on in the 90s.
And what also happened? We saw an increasing amount of urban men, black men, white men who live in the men, period, being in jail, especially during the Clinton, administration. You know, when people call him the first black president, kind of ironic that he put more black people in jail than we had in history. So let's look at the 2000s. You had an increased number of black women going to school, an increased number of black women getting more preferential treatment, because they said since the 80s, why aren't these girls, doing as well as the boys in science? Because boys typically do things that's better, which is logical, like science, like math, which are more logical sciences.
Right.
I can remember when I went to grade school, I was in the 6th grade and I was doing 9th, 10th, and 11th grade level science and social studies. Women love the social studies, the English, the communicative, subject. So set them up and start seeing an influx of women doing better, especially in the urban communities, than the girls doing better than the boys.
Yeah.
Because there was so much placed on them. So now you have what they have. Oh, we're the fastest growing minority. Let's look at that historically.
Let's.
You only have 10% more black female graduates due to the fact that there's 10% more black females in college. And not all of them, you have a lot of them in college, but it's not like you're graduating from universities in 4 years. A lot of them are for juniors and community.
Yep.
Let's look at the work rate. Black men with blue-collar trades still earn more.
They do.
And what happened? You have what? Now from being from an 80%, 83% from 1890 to 1970 in married homes, you're now having a birth rate of what? Out of wedlock birth rate of 73%.
And that number is still climbing to this day. And this is 2017. That number is still climbing to this day, and it's the scariest number in society to look at.
Exactly. And look what happens. You have an alarming rate of violent crime, joblessness, and there's no built structure in the community.
There really isn't.
Because I hate to tell a lot of people this, you'll never hear a man say, I'm strong and independent, because they'll look at you like, motherfucker, you're supposed to be.
Ain't that the truth?
And here's for your female listeners. If you want to get a man, do not talk about how much money you make. Do not talk about your career. That's like trying to beat Superman at a bench press contest.
Thank you.
It's not going to happen.
Thank you.
We don't think about that.
The young lady that I'm seeing right now, I met her outside of Jasper, Indiana. She told me flat out, it ain't about the money, it's about me supporting you and you loving what you do.
Exactly.
And I was so unhappy when I was down in Jasper, Indiana, and I told this story when I revived the show. She looked me in the eye and said, you get your ass out of here and go home, and you do what you love to do, because there is something that needs to be released. And I also spoke of this. The question that I said to myself, and I got this courtesy of listening to Colin Cowherd when his wife posed the question to him, are you living where you want to live, and are you doing what you want to do? And my answer was no to both questions. And when I said that aloud to Tabitha, she looked me in the eye and said, okay, you answered that question. Now what do you do? And it wasn't her berating me either. It was her, like, giving me a kick in the ass saying, you know what you love to do. Go do it.
Damn right.
And she also said to me, I'm finding an injury myself, but when I'm healed, I'm there. And I said, does it matter where we go? She says, honey, we can go to Charlotte, North Carolina. We can go to Chicago. Wherever you are, I am. And that's not me putting the black woman down. It's just a woman telling me how she feels and what she wants me to do to get back to being me, period.
Yeah, she's supposed to be the support system, the backbone. If we're the tank, then guess what? She needs to be the fuel. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Yes, sir.
A lot of women don't understand.
They don't.
If you want to keep a man forever, it's the small things. Even the Bible says, husband, love your wives. Wife, respect your husband.
Absolutely.
Men don't really care about being loved. We care about being respected.
Mm-hmm.
And when you disrespect us, it takes a toll.
Yeah, it does.
And a lot of ladies like, well, you're men, you could take it. Even if we could take it, why would we?
Exactly. Why would we? And why should we? How about those two questions?
It's just like you said about your nephew and his brother. He wasn't being respected. So what would a self-respecting man do? Leave the situation altogether.
Yeah, you get the hell out.
There's plenty of men who fight to be with their kids. Remember, you don't have a deadbeat dad if he's fighting to be with his kids.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? There's some motherfuckers that aren't shit, but it's very few. Remember, there's the statistics that people don't want to let you know that they build off the stereotypes, especially about black men.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to go there. Charles Faulkner with the Snowman this morning talking about what happens or what has happened to the male in society, taking color out of the equation, bringing facts into the equation. Go on, Charles.
40% of black men don't even have kids. 52% are the best fathers in the world. They're more interactive than any other father on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Only 8% of dads, especially black dads, are the actual quote-unquote deadbeat.
Yeah.
And even those stories are subject for interpretation.
And people don't want to bring all that. People don't want to bring those numbers up at all. You know why they don't want to bring those numbers up at all? Because society has catered to the woman for a long time, and they want to keep that going, and they don't want to dig deep into the situation of why the numbers are the way that they are.
Exactly. Think about it. If I had an agenda and I told the truth, especially if it went against my agenda, wouldn't that destroy everything?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it would, in a heartbeat.
So think about it. When you have this welfare mind state, it's like I told you and Matt on the last interview. The welfare mind state exists due to liberalism.
Yeah.
And liberalism does a few things. One, it does not let you accept responsibility for your actions.
True.
Nor does it let you look at reality.
True again.
If you look at every urban community in America, not just Chicago, not just Detroit, Baltimore, Compton, Stockton, Dade County, Miami,
yep,
New York, Boston, Philly. Look at all these places. What do they have in common? High crime rates, failing education systems,
yep,
and a large sum of single-parent homes.
Very large.
So you're telling me that nobody said you were to blame for having... It's funny. I'm going to give you a perfect example. A friend of mine was making a joke, and he said, what would you say to a woman who said, oh, her baby father is this and that, and he's not good and all that? I said, that's your fault because you should have picked better men.
Preach that, Charles. Preach that.
Because last time I checked, a woman's the last say when you have sex.
This is true. Nobody wants to think about that. Here's something I went through. I've spoken to you about this so many times. My baby girl, who passed in 2015, was not, I believe, fairly given a chance to be with both parents. Because at the time I was engaged to my daughter's mother, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Liz's family intercepted every single plan. Want to take a guess as to why?
Why?
Liz is white and I wasn't. How about that?
Right. And for some reason, stereotypes follow us.
Man! You better preach that, man.
You can hear, to all your fans and even your critics listening, you hear two articulate black males, and we even have a Caucasian brother, Matt.
Yes.
Just two articulate black males, one articulate, and God, we love our flamboyant brother from another, Matt.
Matt is one of the best, man.
Charles and Matt. And you hear us talk about these subjects, but yet we'll always be stereotyped. And even if you take the white brother, and Matt told us about his issue when it came to his kid.
Right.
The shit he goes through.
Mm-hmm.
And there's women who, once again, because of liberalism, are not allowed to see reality.
Yep. And
question why are all these men talking so down about women? Where does Matt live?
South Carolina.
He lives in South Carolina. I'm from Baltimore. You're from Illinois. If we come from three different places on the great country that we call the United States of America, and we tell similar stories, what the hell does that tell you?
It tells you men are being screwed out of society. Let's just call it the way we see it. It's what I do. It's what I've been doing as a play-by-play announcer for 21 seasons. Call it like you see it. Men are being emasculated, and more to the point, and people hate when I use this word, but it's the truth, and you know what I'm going to tell you. Not only are men being emasculated in society, they are also being eliminated from society.
Exactly. Think about it. And I like to quote people, like the Angry Man brought up a good point on his show. He says companies are being given tax breaks to giving black women jobs.
Yep.
Not against it. They're getting big tax breaks because they got a double minority, black and female.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of saying, hey, I'm going to help my man build, I'm going to get this money up and I'm going to help him start a business, go to school, no, I'm going to look down on you. Think about it.
It's the truth, man. Because, like I said, when I met Tabitha down in Jasper, Indiana, all she looked at me and said, "I want to be with somebody that cares about me, no matter what color." Do you know the first time I went to see her, we talked all night?
Oh, man, it was beautiful.
It was wonderful. It is wonderful. She and I, even when I moved back here to the Chicago area, we talk every day, whether it be for 5 minutes or 45 minutes, whether it be once a day or 4 times a day. We talk every day, man.
And I want to give a little tips to dating for a lot of your female fans and listeners.
Go for it.
If you make a man feel like he's wanted and needed and respected, you will always keep that man.
And you know something? I got a very dear friend. I got a very dear friend. I got a very dear friend. Her name's Donna Cavanaugh. There will be a couple times she'll argue to the contrary, but she's been my friend for 3 years now, and she's seen the shit that I've gone through with some of the women I've been with. I know she'll give a thumbs up to that statement with my situation. I give the same thumbs up because my parents were married 40 years before my dad passed away due to prostate cancer. And in case you're tuning in, this is Charles Faulkner along with the Snowman. We're talking males in society or the elimination thereof. But you are so right with that. You are so right with that. And like I said, it could be only 5 minutes, but it could be 45 minutes. But at least Tabitha and I are on the phone every damn day talking about and making future plans at the same time. When a man is appreciated, and I've said this word, I know Donna's heard me say this word, Tabitha's heard me say this word, all of the fans that tune in to Snowman in the morning have heard me use this word so many times. When a man is appreciated, he will go to the moon and back several times over.
Yes, he will move heaven and earth by hand for you when he's appreciated and respected.
When he's appreciated, loved, and respected the right way, man, you can't tell me there's nothing he won't do or can't do. All right?
And I tell people this because a lot of people don't understand normal relationships. Like, nuclear family is almost dead in America.
Yeah, it is. You know, and you know what? Donna just shot me a text message. She's tuning in right now. She makes a good point. She says only if the man is a good man. She makes that valid point because there are some men. There are some men that take advantage of that treatment. All right, so she makes that very valid point. I will give her that. And a couple of other folks have texted me while we've had this conversation, and they've said the same thing. So let's just put a number behind it. People love to live in numbers. 90% of the men who are loved and respected and treated the right way, not only will they return it, they'll return it tenfold. Period.
Exactly. And we're not talking about the shit bag.
No.
We're not talking about the shit bags because we know first and foremost that it's the same thing when people tell me, oh, there's so many bad and corrupt cops.
Mm-hmm.
I said, once again, let's look at logic. If there was a lot of bad and corrupt cops, what are you going to do? Because, unfortunately, in urban society, you don't have guns. So you'd be talking to taking your guns away. Which is my grandfather, who's 80, I'm 35, he's 85, looks like he's 45. Please, Lord, I can have some genetics. The point he made was, he was like, about it. If all the people were bad, you gave up your guns, and all the cops were bad, why hasn't the cops made it into a military state?
Mm-hmm.
Because last time I checked, you still see people on the corners, you see people chilling out, and the cops don't bother them.
Exactly.
Out of a storefront and they tell you to move. So If we were all that corrupt, why would you still call us?
Exactly. Exactly.
It goes back into using the logical mind. And to answer the caller about the good men, there's plenty of good men. It's just that, is it the good men that a lot of women are attracted to? Or are a lot of women going for caddish men?
You know something, we'll use that as our final point to close. And folks, you'll hear Charles with me another time, and you'll also hear this on the on the Snowman in the Morning podcast as well as the BS podcast this week. So pay attention. You will hear this conversation again. But let's close with that point. Okay? With so many men being emasculated and eliminated from society, it changes what the women are attracted to. And I'm going to say something that's going to piss a lot of black women off, but I don't care. I lived it, I went through it, and I continue to go through it. And Charles, I know you can answer this question. I know Matt can answer this question. I know a few of my friends in the Chicagoland area, no matter what the color or creed, they can answer this question. But how many times have you seen a man well-spoken, well-dressed, have goals, knows what he wants to do, why he wants to do it, and where he wants to do it, get turned away, laughed at, and walked on because he held true to his own standards? I'm sorry, did I go there with that one?
Sir, man, you went real quick. The way you talk to, this might have to end up being one of your 5-part, stories, man. I'm going to answer that real quick before you go. Number one, it's because you are who you value. If you value no substance, then you get what you pay for. If you look for a beta male who will what he pay for you, you get what you pay for. So instead of looking just for look, I'm going to look at character.
Thank you.
Is he studious? Does he have any ingenuity? Can he make a job in a way out of no way? Is he going to be there for you when the chips are down? Is he going to be there when you're past your prime and you're not looking like you did when you were 20, 21 to 25? Is he going to be there when you're 55? Is he going to be there when all the bills need to be paid, something happens, and he's going to work his ass off to pay them?
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to love you the same way when you first met 20, 30 years later? Those are factors a lot of women, especially black women, do not take into consideration.
Can I get a witness here?
And to go back real quick about the emancipation and the effemination, or I like to call it the ultra-castration of men, think about it. I'm a comic book fan. How many comic book characters, and I'm not nothing, I'm a Wonder Woman fan because he has some great stories, but how many characters we're not even allowed to, for our sons to even say, hey, I want to dress as Black Panther, Superman, Batman, whoever. I mean, Iron Man's a woman. Nothing against it, but what does that tell the boys? I'm not being proud and having fictional heroes, but at the same time, when you see a femination of men, how many females are coming to say, you know what? My sons, my brothers, my fathers, my grandfathers, my future grandchildren will not be emasculated.
Thank you.
How many are coming to bat to say that? Because remember, for all you women who laugh at the effemination of men, remember, if you have daughters, these are the men that are going to marry and date with no backbone, with no studiousness to them, no ingenuity. All you women looking for a man, this is what you're going to get, a feminized version of a man, somebody who's not even 10% of a man.
Oh, can I get a witness on this one? Can I get a witness on this one? Meanwhile, men like us, y'all, just remember, y'all laughed at us first. We're laughing last. That tells everything. Charles Faulkner joining me here via the Cleaver Supplements Hotline. Remember, you're going to hear this on several Arena Sportsnet podcasts this coming week. And Charles, I'd love to have you on each week, my friend.
If God willing, I will, and I'm staying upside Earth. I'm willing to do it. If anybody wants to hit me up and wants me to come back again, just hit Brian up and we'll do it. And I'm always going to be backed by popular demand.
I think we just got an idea for our first episode of the Man Podcast, and there's a couple other folks that I want to bring on. We'll talk about that at a later date. But on that note, we're going to close up shop on this edition of Snowman in the Morning. Let me thank Charles Faulkner for joining me here. Our show is brought to you in part by Cleaver Supplements, pure supplements for when genetics are just not enough. And men, this is the time for you to stand up, take control, and realize what your dream is. And don't let anybody stop you from pursuing it or grabbing it. It's what my dad and my granddad taught me. It's what Charles was taught. We want the men, young and old, to learn the same. Till tomorrow when I do my preview of the NBA Finals, and it's going to be fun to watch, and I got a prediction. I'll do that tomorrow. Till then, for Charles Faulkner, for everybody that helps us out, don't forget to visit our swag store on arenasportsnet.com. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. And Donna Cavanaugh, I thank you for that. Dream big, do bigger. Snowman out.